In Britain, first-class roads take our goods to market, and the choice of goods available to us is staggering. Education is free. Healthcare is free. We have electricity. We have clean water to drink, and we have sewers to keep our cities clean. We have these things because people here have jobs, and they also pay taxes, and the government spends their taxes on public services. But in poor countries, or in countries with poor governments, there simply isn't enough money to go round to pay for teachers or civil servants, or to build hospitals, roads and sewers. But things are changing. And slowly, the deep shadows of poverty are lifting. Schools are being built and staffed properly. Some are even oversubscribed. Local clinics are extending the lives of children and their families. Cart tracks are becoming roads. Britain, through its Department for International Development, DFID, aids these poorer countries not just in times of natural disaster or conflict, but also to achieve and sustain higher standards of living. We help governments so that in turn they may help themselves and their people to become less dependent upon handouts from the West. Now, of course, DFID doesn't work alone. Other wealthier countries like the European Union, America, Japan, we all work together. And many other aid agencies are involved too. DFID helps fund organisations like Oxfam, Action Aid, VSO, and of course, we've helped fund the United Nations itself. Nowadays, Britain will only help governments in poor countries if they agree to make long-term and lasting improvements to vital services, like education or healthcare. And not only welfare. The governments must also encourage the private sector to prosper in their countries, to generate jobs and money. These governments are held to account. They are constantly reviewed and forward regular reports on progress. But there are poor countries that are unable to make these changes for themselves. Perhaps they're emerging from conflict or they have ineffective governments. In these cases, DFID tries to aid the people themselves. And we do this by working through charities and aid agencies like Comic Relief and Oxfam, or through respected aid agencies like the United Nations itself. But here in Tanzania, the President was personally involved in the introduction of a free education programme. With more schools and teachers, 1.5 million more children now attend primary school, and at no cost whatever to their families. Britain helped the government to do this.
My school friends would like everybody to go to school. Without going to school, you'll miss out on a lot of things. Life will not be good, resulting in joining bad street gangs, and in the end, big trouble.
In Bangladesh, child mortality has been drastically reduced, both through improvements in living conditions and the widespread use of inoculation at localized clinics. Mozambique is one of the poorest countries in the world, but drastic reforms have made an encouraging improvement in poverty levels.
This crop is rice. It's the first time we've grown it. We were given 3 bags to use as seeds. When we harvest, we have to give 3 bags back. The expert will tell us what to do with the rest, but we think we will sell it to the factory.
The fight to eradicate absolute poverty will continue to be our main priority.
Aid does work, but there is an undercurrent of public cynicism that undermines even the best efforts. Many people are convinced that much of the aid money ends up in the pockets of corrupt politicians or officials. It's difficult, it's true, to monitor and control the situation. But three things enormously help in the administration of aid money.
Firstly, the fact that we now give money directly to governments in exchange not only for assurances, but for regular reports of expenditure, progress and results. Secondly, making local people totally aware of what they're supposed to be getting, and giving them a mechanism for complaint if they don't get it.
And lastly, encouraging tough and uncompromising action against anyone caught siphoning off funds for their own use. Already a number of corrupt politicians have been jailed for such abuses.
Corruption is a real issue of concern to DFID. Corruption is an issue in many, if not all, of the countries that we work in. And we have frequent dialogue with the governments that we work with to ensure that we are happy with their approach to tackling corruption.
In our opinion, corruption is a social evil that should be actively combated. The National Assembly of Vietnam has adopted a law against corruption in late 2005, by which we shall be establishing a national committee headed by the Prime Minister himself.
Of course, some people will ask, well, why give any aid money at all to a country that is manifestly corrupt?
But why should a child be denied education or a mother healthcare just because some people in their government are corrupt? This government believes that we cannot and should not walk away from our responsibilities. And a strong light shining in a dark corner can help to stamp out corruption quicker than anything.
My kids can now go to school more easily, and they can also have access to health station when they are ill for treatment and medicine. The program has also brought about good achievements for my family and my village, so that our lives are now better than before.
The goal is to halve world poverty by 2015. It's a tough call, but slowly we are beginning to make a big difference. It's estimated that every year the British government, through DFID, helps to pull 2 million people out of poverty. But there is still so much more to be done. What we have shown you is only a small example of what we've achieved already, but we must still resolve to do more. There is no doubt aid works.